Looks good. Okay, cool. Thanks for entering the crypt with us. We're Bone Patrol. I'm Aaron.
Chris?
Tyler.
And how you guys doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good.
I just ate one of those pizzas that you put in the oven, you know, the square ones with the little pepperoni chunks on top.
Yeah,
little cubed pepperoni chunks.
I just ate half a bag of pizza rolls.
Dang.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino's or what?
Yeah.
Very
I like
nice. High class. Did you have any dipping sauce? Dippage?
I had chips and salsa as well, and then copious amounts of caffeine, so it's been a healthy day.
Oh, yes.
Did you dip Quentin Tarantino's into the caffeine?
Oh, I think you're going to ask about the salsa, because I was eating the chips and salsa while I was waiting for the oven to preheat, but to answer your question, of course.
Have you ever had the, what is it called, Mexican pizza from Taco Bell?
No, it always scared me.
I don't think I've ever had that before.
I think it's just a tostada with like beans and lettuce and meat, right?
Well, I thought that's what their tostada was.
Yeah, but I would think that this one, I think it's just got like different toppings. than their
Marinara sauce,
tostada, but
pepperoni,
I don't think so.
Italian sausage.
Yuck. Well, then it's not Mexican.
It's taco. Oh, then it comes down to the debate of Taco Bell's actually considered Mexican.
Yeah.
Are they in Mexico?
Yeah, you're right. You got me there.
Yeah, culture, baby. I've been around the world.
Speaking of going around the world, today's subject has been around the world. Is that right, Tyler? Was that a good intro?
True.
A good lead? Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, I just bumped my mic hardcore. Whoops.
So anyways, today's week so happens to be our Lord Tyler.
I wouldn't consider myself a lord.
Oh, did you know
but
technically
okay.
I'm a lord? I own a square acre of land in Scotland, and they made me the lord of it. They even sent me verification, paperwork, and an ID card.
Very nice. Have you ever been to it?
Nope, but they gave me the coordinates, and if I go visit, they'll take me out to it.
Have you ever Googled Earth,
Yes,
the location?
I have. It's just
Is it nice?
it's a patch of grass, and so what it is, anyone can do it. It's a way that they do to like preserve their national parks or forests, and that's how they do fundraising. Basically, is you can donate, and they'll make you a lord over a square foot.
So if you were to go, could you put whatever you want on that square foot?
You know what? I don't know that much. I technically own it, so I would hope so.
Let's go get a Bone Patrol flag going.
Okay, we'll look into it, and then we'll go to Scotland and put a flag on my square foot of land. Because I'm sure they just bank on that 99% of people who buy it live in America, because we have copious amounts of money to spend, and they're not going out there.
Well, it's like when they name a star after you, except you actually can visit this place. So it's better than naming a star.
I don't know
after
why
yourself.
Tyler I thought he was going down the route that you could visit the star, but there's no way you could visit your plot of land in Scotland.
You visit your star. Yeah, I died. That's weird.
Tyler's got a pretty gnarly concoction he mixes up that makes him visit the stars. Let's just put it that way.
Speaking of stars, today's episode is about quite the star. He was a movie star, right? A book star? I don't know
A
you want to
book
call
star?
that.
Also, he had his very own burlesque show. So there you go. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about one of the most feared monsters that ever walked or shuffled on the earth.
Ooh.
The one, the only, Frankenberry.
Frankenberry.
Oh, wait a second.
Frankenberry.
Oh, that's my favorite cereal. Sorry. No, I mean the guy who's like green skinned, who grunts a lot.
Shrek.
Or the Hulk.
Shrek had a baby with the Hulk. It's Shulk.
Yes, my name is Shulk, and I have come to avenge my father.
Swamp.
Get out of me, green swamp. Yeah, we're not talking about.
We're not talking about Shulk?
Oh, it's Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski, yes.
It's Mike Kachowski.
Ka-chow!
The Incredible Mike.
Ew. The Incredible Mike, was his eyeball just bigger?
The angrier he gets, the bigger his eyeball becomes.
It's gonna pop.
His body to eyeball
touch
ratio slowly increases proportionately to his anger level.
Ugh.
That's amazing. So all jokes aside, we're going to be talking about Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, we're not going to talk about Frankenstein himself.
Oh, we're going to talk about Frankenstein as well. But yeah, so everyone knows pretty much who Frankenstein is. He's this big dude, green skin. He has metal rods sticking out of his neck, and he grunts, and he's very strong and
handsome, rich, successful, business mogul.
He gets all the ladies.
Doesn't he just get one lady? Doesn't he have a bride?
Does he even get that lady?
I don't know. I've never seen that movie.
Well, so there's a movie, but like I've seen the original one. We'll talk about that later, but like, there's I think several movies that are called The Bride of Frankenstein, and it's basically him with his soulmate.
So it's Shulk and She-Shulk?
Yeah, Shulk and She-Shulk.
Very cool.
All right. So basically, we're going to first talk about the origins of where Frankenstein's monster comes from. He comes from, well, he's first imagined in the book titled Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, which was written in 1818, so very, very long ago, by Mary Shelley. So when she started writing this book, she was only 18 years old, and she eventually finished the book at the age of 21.
Oh,
which is amazing.
Is that
really young?
Oh, okay. Someone who has never wrote a book. 3 years sounds like a long time, but maybe it's not. Maybe that's a short amount of time to write a book, or is that a normal amount of time to write a book?
It's not a very long book. I don't know why it took her so many years to write it.
It's because she was also writing the movie scripts, too.
And also the burlesque show. I mean, she had to write that.
And I suppose she's not full-time writing.
No, so she was married very young. And between those ages, from 18 to 21, she was traveling a lot. So that's probably why it took 3 years for her to write it.
Do you know if that traveling had any... I gotta help build the inspiration for the story at all?
Oh, we're gonna talk about that.
All right.
The answer is yes.
The answer is a strong no that we find out later in the story.
It's actually... All right. But basically this book is about a mad scientist named Victor Frankenstein, whose only goal in life is to play God and create his own life. And so basically what he does throughout the book, he becomes one of the best grave robbers. You know, he's trying to find the perfect body pieces for his master creation. And you would think as a scientist he would just be fine with making a papier-mâché volcano. No, he has to take it real...
And make a papier-mâché man.
Papier-mâché man.
That's all, it doubles as a volcano. When he gets angry.
But yeah, so in this book, he eventually makes his master creations. Basically, a bunch of different body parts sewn together, and he somehow reanimates the corpse. In the book, it doesn't say how he does it.
He asks nicely, very politely. He said, "Hey."
Yeah, he's like, hey, buddy, could you wake up? Wake up, please.
And that's it. That's all it takes to reincarnate a body.
So what's his end? Like, is it just to reincarnate? Is this Victor von Frankenfurter guy got a goal?
My terminology was incorrect. It's reanimation, right?
Yeah, reanimation. All right. Did I say something different?
No, I said reincarnate like a big idiot.
Oh, no,
what did I say?
You said reincarnate like a bigger idiot.
But the biggest idiot is Victor von Frankenfurter.
Yeah. The CEO and founder of Wiener Schnitzel.
I mean, that could be possible because he comes from a rich family in Germany, and so he travels the world as well as Mary Shelley. But yeah, he makes this reanimated corpse, and immediately he freaks out because he's like, oh my gosh. And he just leaves it, and the monster goes off and, like, you know, learns about life. He learns about love. He learns about how weird he looks and how nobody likes him.
Oh yeah,
and so
we all learn those things eventually about ourselves.
So Frankenfurter, he kind of has like a mental breakdown after he's created this thing because he believes that he is essentially like damned for doing this.
Well, I mean, he didn't set up it, like, he didn't give it a college fund. He wasn't ready.
Yeah, he's
to be
definitely
a
not
parent.
going to heaven for this.
No, he's a horrible parent.
Yeah, awful.
So basically, he abandons the monster, and the monster, you know, goes around. He's really smart in the book, which is funny, because in media, like in films, he's like this just tall, dumb dude. But yeah, he like learns about life. He finds his creator, Frankenstein, and he's like asking him, "Wow, why can't you just make me like a bride so I can like stop like harassing you and your family and all and harassing humankind?" And the guy's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll make you a bride." He never does. So basically,
you're saying the monster asked if Frankenfurter could reanimate some more body parts and turn that into a bride for the monster, not turn the monster into a bride. Is what I thought you were explaining.
I don't think he knows.
And then that's when Frankenfurter and the monster fell in love.
Do you take your monster as your lawful wedded bride?
Waffle wedded bride.
Waffle iron.
Waffle Frankenfurter bride.
That's not so. To be clear, that's not what you're saying.
No, sorry. Is
it what you wanted to say?
Sound weird. Yeah, what I wanted to say is, he wants a soulmate, man. Who doesn't want a soulmate? Who doesn't?
I'm looking at Tyler's notes, and it just says, "I want a soulmate," with a picture of him looking sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. That's basically the premise of the story. There's more to it, but that would be a longer podcast episode.
I mean, yeah, sure, the book has been around for a long time and all the movies, but you don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil all the good parts. I mean, there's a lot of good parts in that book.
Like the part where he gets healies.
Yeah, and he starts healing around in the Swiss mountains.
Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, I don't want to sidetrack you off what you want to talk about, but so if this is part of it, then let me know. But, I mean, do you have a list of common misconceptions when it comes to the monster? Because, I mean, the biggest one I could think of is everyone calls him Frankenstein. Well, that's not his name. Are there other things that happen in the book that people don't realize? Yeah,
I'll definitely talk about that. But basically, yeah. So it's a really short book. It's only like 280 pages. I would suggest you read it if you are literate. It's a very good book. But basically,
if you're literate. That does seem like a necessary prerequisite to read a book.
At this point, there's got to be 100 audio versions of this book at this point, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that's how I'm illiterate, so I had to listen to it.
I had to listen to Tyler listen.
He listens to his notes as well as he does the podcast.
I do, yeah. Oh, it looks like I skipped over here. Let me reverse a little bit. Okay.
They're all he has his notes set up in Cyanide and Happiness comics with no words, just movements. That tells him what he's gonna do next.
He's got a flip book he goes through, and it's just him like doing the podcast, and he's just learned at what point in the flip book is what he's supposed to say.
You're really talented.
Oh, thanks. So you may be asking, like, what inspired Mary Shelley to write this book? You know, she's a young girl. She's Bradley.
She's Bradley.
Bradley. She's.
What are you?
What are you saying?
She's a newlywed. I don't know what I'm trying to say. She's a newlywed. And
she's Bradley.
She's Bradley.
She is Bradley.
Mary Shelley is Bradley.
So you may be wondering, like, what what gave her the inspiration to write a book about a reanimated corpse monster? Well, so around the time Mary Shelley was born, it's about the 1790s, a scientist and a plumber by the name of Luigi Galvani.
No, you made that up. That is 100% a made-up story.
He is a scientist, but not a plumber.
Okay.
He could be a plumber, though, because his name's Luigi. He also has a brother named Mario.
Mario
Mario
and Louie guy.
Yeah, Mario and Louie guy. He's a little bit taller than his brother.
He's also green.
He's also green. He only wears greens and...
Wait, she's inspired by this guy?
Well, this guy... So what he did in the 1790s is he discovered that if you take a skinned frog leg and if you're able to pass electricity through that frog leg, the muscles will tighten up and twitch or animate. And so this freaked out a lot of people. And a lot of people believed that, animals themselves created their own electricity. So that's like a reason why they were, able to move.
Well, in a sense,
and
they weren't wrong.
In a sense, they weren't really wrong. Because nerves are able to transmit electrical pulses to our muscles to, tense them or untense. But yeah, they weren't really technically wrong. And this was called galvanism. And so galvanism is a huge, I would say like a huge player in the inspiration for Frankenstein. Years later, after Galvani made this discovery, other scientists would do other experiments where they would get, different kind of animals and do the exact same thing.
Zap them with lightning?
Well, yeah, basically, zap them with lightning.
Just like in Frankenweenie?
Yeah, Frankenweenie. And basically...
I like that movie.
I'm actually going to be talking about Frankenweenie in the later in this podcast.
Like the same episode or a different episode?
No, this episode.
Okay.
Sorry. But yeah, many people believe that galvanism is like pretty much the inspiration behind Mary Shelley writing this book. And she probably either like witnessed it or at least heard about it because she traveled throughout all of Europe. And Luigi Galvani, he mainly did his experiments in Italy, but he also traveled around the world and was showing what he could do with frog legs.
He just shows up to like a house party and he's like, y'all want to see what I can do with a frog leg?
I just imagine he's got a magic show where he goes outside to, the local pond. He grabs the biggest frog he can and he just hits it with a taser. Like, see, look, it moves. When I zap it with this taser, it shakes.
It's groundbreaking.
It's
Everybody, what time period is this that we're speaking?
So this is late 17th century, early 18th century.
Oh yeah, they're loving this. Then they're loving this activity.
Like this is you either get a clown or you get this guy. This guy is less creepy than a clown, sort of.
I guess.
I'd rather watch a guy shock a frog than me get shocked by a clown. They got those little hand zappers.
But yeah, that's basically one inspiration for the book Frankenstein.
His finale at his magic show is they just strapped him with tasers and they put him in a petting zoo and he just spin around until he hit animals. I like when he hits the goat.
Truly was an art.
Please, Mr. Louie Guy, shock my baby.
Does he do like an old McDonald's had a farm and he tases each animal?
Yep. As he sings, he zaps the animal.
Louie Guy had a farm.
That guy's
that
incredible.
Was the origins of Old McDonald's farm.
He inspired a lot of stories we know today.
I'm just really interested to see how we go from Taser Man till 200 years later when Wiener Schnitzel was founded. I'm curious to see how that connection's made, but we'll get there, I suppose.
Oh, there will be a connection.
All right.
So another interesting thing about the book is when Mary Shelley was traveling around Europe, she traveled to this German city called Darmstadt. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Darmstadt.
Darmstadt?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like southwestern Germany. And in that town, there is a castle named Frankenstein. And it's rumored that, she visited this castle, and there's a lot of, like, creepy things that, through the history of this castle, that has happened around it. So, one weird, creepy guy by the name of Johann Conrad Dippel.
Nah, you made that one up too.
Up.
He's a real guy.
Johann Conrad Dippel.
So he was around, 16th century, 17th century, so a little bit earlier than Mary Shelley. He was a scientist and an alchemist and also an occultist. So.
And he's just hanging out at the castle?
How do you become...
Yeah, that's where he was born.
How do you become an acclaimed alchemist? Is that a self-proclaimed title?
Kind of, yeah, because he was very rich, since his parents, were landowners and they owned the castle. And so basically what he did with his whole life was he was always doing experiments. And alchemy back in that day was really popular because one of the main goals in alchemy was to change some rudimentary element, so like such as like lead or iron, into gold. That's what they were trying to figure out. They were also trying to figure out in alchemy how to prolong someone's life, either like an elixir of life or like a philosopher's stone.
So, this Johann Dimpel guy, he had the choice of choosing his emphasis in pseudoscience between chiropractic and alchemy.
Correct, and he chose alchemy.
Very cool.
How many people back then were just actual respectable chemists that were titled as alchemists because they didn't understand what they were doing?
Not very many.
Okay.
I will say that.
Only Louis guy, the guy shocking the frogs.
But yeah, so Dimple,
I don't think it's actually Dimple, isn't it?
Dimple.
Sorry.
Dimple.
I said Dimple.
So this guy, many people believe that he is the inspiration behind the character Victor Frankenstein because of a lot of his mannerisms and like what he does is just like how she wrote Victor Frankenstein. He was very non-sociable. He was a shut-in. He would literally stay in his castle and just do experiments. And all the townsfolk are like, this guy's crazy. He's just doing all these experiments. There was a lot of rumors coming around that he would dig up bodies from the grave and do experiments on them.
Yeah, just zap them. Just over and over and over and over.
But there was he would try to... There's one thing. He would try to transfer people's souls.
Whoa.
So basically what he would do is... I mean, these are all hearsay. So... I would think a majority of these aren't true. But basically what he would do is he would get, two dead people, and he would get a giant funnel, and I don't know if he would like put it in their mouth or put it in their body, and he would try to suck the soul.
Like siphon?
Like siphon, yes, siphon. He would siphon their soul into the other body. For what purpose? I don't know.
Just getting a mouthful of maggots is what he's doing.
Yeah, so this guy was really interesting. It's rumored that during this time, he discovered nitroglycerin, which is dynamite, which this might be more of a myth, but he discovered some explosive substance that blew one of the towers in Castle Frankenstein apart. Like, it literally just, like, made a dent in the castle.
So that wouldn't be too surprising. If you look at pictures of the castle, it's pretty run down.
Yeah.
Like, there's big chunks of the castle just completely missing.
I don't know about you boys, but it kind of sounds like he just found Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of explosive. But yeah, he was doing all these experiments. The town people are just kind of like, oh, this guy's weird. One of the clergymen were like spreading a rumor that he would again dig up bodies, but what he would try to do is reanimate them through like lightning storms.
I thought you were gonna say kisses.
Kisses, yes. That was the extra step. But yeah, I'm like, wait a second, that kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, you know what's weird?
Benjamin Franklin.
You know what's weird, though? When you're a scientist in Germany and you do it, everyone's like, what a weirdo. This guy's so strange and scary. But when you're Benjamin Franklin, everyone's, oh, a founding father. This guy is fantastic. Let's put him on the $100 bill.
Let's just ignore the several skeletons underneath his house.
Exactly.
Let's just ignore that.
I just
holes drilled in their heads.
Back in the day, George Washington just walked out of his house and he looked along the way and he just saw Mr. Franklin out there with a body tied to a kite in a thunderstorm. Like, woohoo! This is getting zapped with lightning.
That's a true story. So basically, this guy is kind of a crackpot. He once believed that he made the elixir of life, and he called it Dippel's oil. And basically, what this was, get this, was what he did was he destructively distilled bones, either animal bones or human bones, we don't know. And he mixed it with animal blood and some other stuff, and it made this like dark liquid tar thing. Basically, it looked like oil. And he said, he claimed by drinking this elixir of life, this Dippel's oil, he would live until 135 years old. He died when he was 61.
What I don't get with this type of stuff is like they're mixing all this crap because like, oh, humans, right?
Yeah.
Like we got all like life comes from this, but you're putting stuff together from creatures that die just like you. Wouldn't you need to find something that's not decaying like you are to get the secret to
all
life?
I'm learning from this is that he was less of a scientist and more of just a big old idiot.
Big old dummy.
I'm still waiting for chiropractor practice to come in to all of his pseudoscience.
Yeah, let's hear this. How does he bring that in?
Well, before I talk about that, it's funny. Dippel's oil was actually used in World War II, and what they did with it was they would put it in well water, and of course, since it's like a dark tar liquid, it would make the water in the well undrinkable.
Well, that's not surprising.
So literally, it did the exact opposite of what he was trying to accomplish.
You know what would have been an easier way to do that? Is just throw a dead raccoon in the well.
True, yeah.
I don't get why, like, I just still can't wrap my head around why they're just chugging stuff that they found in the gutter.
Ah, yes, this is a fine specimen.
I call this one Baja Blast.
Drink it up!
But to be fair, nowadays, we're pretty, like, people are going to parties and just drinking flavored hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I had to stop doing that.
You were just drinking hand sanitizer.
Hey, don't tell them that. But yeah, that's basically like the couple of inspirations that I thought were really, really good to mention, because she didn't come up with this story, out of the blue. I mean, like all authors, they take inspirations from just life.
And that's why I don't read any
general.
books or stories.
Yeah.
Because they're not
all
original,
fake.
and so I don't want them.
But yeah, now we're going to talk about the differences between the movie and the book. So the first Frankenstein movie was actually made in 1910. It was a silent film, and it was actually made by Edison Studio, which is basically Thomas Edison's film studio, which I didn't know he made silent films.
I didn't even know he was alive for silent films.
Yeah, he was, which is crazy. But we're not going to talk about this movie since it's only like a 13-minute long movie, and it's there's no dialogue. It's just basically text. But the movie we're gonna talk.
Wait. I want you to reenact it in the same
Wait,
silence.
hold on, wait. If it's only
Okay.
13 minutes long, we can just play the entire movie over the podcast right now, right?
Yeah, it's silent. We
It's
can't
silent.
get copyright striked.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
true.
So for the next 13 minutes, enjoy Frankenstein by Edison Studios.
Okay, that's good.
I think that gives you the gist of what the movie's like.
Okay, it's the gist. But we're gonna be comparing it to the first famous movie, which was made by Universal in 1931, titled Frankenstein. And this movie is very important to the character of the monster, because it sets all these tropes of what the monster looks like and how he acts. So basically, in the movie, the monster is green-skinned. He has metal rods sticking out of his neck, and he's super ugly. Super ugly.
Hey, give him a break.
But it's funny, in the book, the monster has grayish skin. He doesn't have metal rods sticking out of his neck. And he's sometimes described as really handsome. So think of like a handsome Squidward, but times 10. But he has really creepy eyes.
So there's a good. Stop laughing. What is? Okay, so there's a good way to think of Frankenstein from the monster from the book.
Yeah.
If you have Chris Hemsworth and the Slash have a baby that has jaundice.
Yeah, so their eyes are kind of like, so the white of their eyes are kind of yellow.
And he's got the beautiful flowing hair, but the body of a god of Thor.
basically. It's also, so in the movie, the monster doesn't speak at all. He grunts and he screeches, and that's what he says in the movie. And he walks really slow. He walks kind of like a zombie. He shuffles.
Well, he's wearing like platform shoes.
He is, yeah.
Whoa, Tyler.
funny.
What did you say he does?
What?
What does he do every day?
He's shuffling.
That's incredible.
Can we get copyright striked for my
Oh,
interpretation of the song?
Oh, yeah.
Come after us,
I see where this all started.
LMFAO.
So
Will
nothing,
just
I'm
make us
learning that
more
absolutely
famous.
nothing in the world's original. Everything originated from Frankenstein.
Well, that's funny. Well, I don't want to cut off Tyler's flow, but one of my friends from elementary school is actually a distant relative to Shelley, Mary Shelley. And so in elementary school, we did, around Halloween time, we would do a lot of research and we read the book. It was like 5th or 6th grade. And we found out that the Hulk was actually a fan fiction that got Stan Lee noticed by Marvel.
Really?
It was a fan fiction about Frankenstein.
I mean, it's not too surprising. There are a lot of similarities. They just have their own little twist on it.
Yeah, it's great. And that's what got, like, everyone gives him credit for like Spider-Man, but everyone knows that other guy that nobody knows the name of invented Spider-Man.
Is it Jack Kirby?
No, everyone knows
Stan
Jack
Lee.
Kirby. Jack Kirby is the god of Marvel Comics.
So I don't know who that is, but Stan Lee,
Whoa, are you
he
kidding
did a
me?
fan fiction.
Wait, you gotta be joking.
I know who Jack Kirby
Oh my
is.
gosh, I was about to
The
hit
joke
my
was
head
that
really hard
everyone
against
gives
my
Stan
mic
Lee
to show how
credit
angry
for
I
it.
was.
The joke was that everyone gives Stan Lee the credit.
You know, it's true.
But that's what that was the joke, was whatever that guy is, right? But whatever. Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. There's been too many Nintendo references in this for my liking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, can we do a Super
also-
Smash Bros, but just real life? We have Jack Kirby and Luigi,
Stan Lee.
whatever his name was.
Galavani.
Yeah, him.
Frankfurter.
Yeah,
Frankfurter, Frankenweenie.
this is awesome. Yeah, I like this. I'll pre-order it.
Victor von Frankenfurter has entered the battle.
So, do we know why Universal took such creative liberty in just ruining Frankenstein?
Honestly,
They knew
I'm not sure.
They just
I know
knew the sexual tension was going to be too high if they made him to look like he did from the book. It would have been a family feature film at that point.
I like to imagine they had the roll up. They were advertising, say these are the types of things we're looking for someone to play this monster in a movie. And then the guy who plays Frankenstein walked in, and that's just actually what he looks like. And they were just okay with it.
You can't pass it up.
Well, so I know the reason why they made his skin green was what they were trying to do, since the film is in black and white. They were trying to portray his skin as like gray, and really the only way they could do it, like a pale gray. The only really way they can do it is paint his face green, like a mint green, and that's why his skin color is green now.
So
it's because of that.
So the movie was in black and white. So why are we even discussing what colors? Is it because they colorized it later?
Yeah. So like in later iterations of Frankenstein, they're like, oh, well, so he had green makeup on. Let's put green makeup on this dude. So he's the same dude.
It's actually a really common thing. Like the Addams Family house is actually like bright pink inside.
But that's just
really?
because of the colors that it portrays when you do it in black and white. Like the shades it produces. Yeah. So you're saying the reason that Frankenstein's monster looks the way he does now in common literature and movies is because of a lack of critical thinking.
Yeah, sure.
You think they could have just found the tone of gray they wanted and painted him that color?
But why not just make him green?
I like that so he's green.
So when people would watch these black and white movies, they had no wait. How would you even know what color it was supposed to be unless they described it in the movie?
Yeah, I don't know.
You could get an idea depending on how dark or light it was, if it was a darker, lighter shade of something. But everything would have been up to your imagination to an extent, right?
Yeah.
And so these movie makers didn't wrap their head around that and just like, well, on the set he was green, so obviously that's what he's supposed to be now.
So I'm looking at the original poster for the movie, and he's green on there.
Oh, what the heck? Universal.
So I just wonder if they got him in his makeup and they had the illustration artist come in and have him sit down so he could paint him, and he might have just painted him green because that's the makeup he had.
Oh, I've seen. Oh man, everyone's probably seen this poster. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's just a disembodied Frankenhead.
Yeah, just floating in the
lady
sky.
dying in the corner. And then you got a Louis guy drinking the black Mountain Dew. That's cool.
Oh, but yeah, so in the movie he's green, long hair, ugly. He's also not very smart.
You've been describing Kevin for so long.
Oh no. Kevin, I'm so sorry. But in the book, the monster is like really he's quick to adapt and he's really smart.
Wait, you just said he wasn't smart.
So in the book.
Oh,
in the book, he's really smart. He learns several languages in the book. And he's able to, like, since day one, like, he stumbles out of the house of Frankenstein, and he's in the woods, and he's like, oh, I'm so cold, and I'm hungry. Oh, maybe I need to find some food. And he finds food, and, like, he's able to build a fire. And he just, like, he thrives and he adapts, which is amazing. In the movie, Frankenstein is afraid of fire. And also, he kills a lot of people. Well, he doesn't kill a lot of people, but he kills people just, like, on a whim. Like, there's this one scene where he's walking through the woods, and he comes upon this lake, and there's this girl, and she's just playing with, like, flowers and stuff, and she sees him, and she, like, looks at him, and she gives him a flower, and he, like, looks at the flower.
He eats it.
Well, I can't remember if he eats it or if he, I don't know what he does with it, but he basically picks up the girl and she starts screaming and he throws her in the lake and he drowns her. And it's like, wait, what? What? He just drowned that little girl.
I went to go do a Frankenstein impersonation, but it was gonna end up being a really deep Jar Jar Binks. I was gonna say, "Misa no like flowers."
I mean, Jar Jar Binks is the closest we'll ever get to Frankenstein in the Star Wars universe.
Misa strong.
Strong. But yeah, but in the book, so he's not afraid of fire, and when he kills people, it's always with a purpose. He always kills people either to frame another person, or just get back at somebody for, like, being a dick. So, like, it's so different from the movie and the book. Like, it seems like they're two different characters with, like, different intellect.
Well, I mean, they literally are.
But yeah. Also, a fun fact. So, the actor who plays the monster in the film is Boris Karloff. He plays the Mummy also in the Universal pick. And he's also the voice of the Grinch in, like, the old 1960s cartoon.
I thought you were gonna say from the movie of, like, the live action. I was like, it's literally Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Yeah. Boris Karloff is Jim Carrey.
Fact.
Fact.
Fiction. So, well, I mean, I'm browsing through all the photos here of the Frankenstein movie, and I think Aaron is onto something. I think the dude walked on to the set. That's how he looks. And it was one of those films where they had a general idea of the direction they wanted to go, and then they realized, we're going to write the story around the actor. So, like, him throwing the kid in the lake, that's just how he did.
That just happened on set.
Fire.
Yeah, he just walked on, picked up a kid, and they threw it, and luckily the cameras were rolling.
Yeah, so it's more of I didn't realize this, but this is a documentary on par with Megamind.
Wait, is this Megamind's father, or is this actual Megamind?
Megamind Senior?
Megamind Senior.
Yeah, wow. This guy really just looks like this. Sorry about that, Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's about it. With the differences of the book. I mean, there's also in the book there's more of a plot between the monster and Frankenstein. In the movie, there's not. It's really fast. He doesn't really interact with the monster that much, but towards the end he does. But yeah, those are the differences between the movie and the book.
You haven't by any chance seen the newer movie, have you?
No, I have not. I didn't know there was a newer movie.
Yeah, it's got Harry Potter and the guy from Split, who's also in a wheelchair.
So James McAvoy.
Are you poorly explaining who's in the movie, or are you is this a fan fiction?
I refuse to answer that. No, it's got James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe in it. I haven't seen it. I don't know how it goes. I don't know if it's more accurate to the book or if it's still just like a Hollywood portrayal of whatever the heck they want it to be.
Yeah.
Or it could be another documentary.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very interesting. We saw the same thing in Dracula, which I guess is a lost episode that never got posted. Or did we never posted it, did we?
We have the audio.
Yeah.
So the problem with that was it was supposed to come out during October, and then finals we had to start doing more school in preparation for finals, more schoolwork. So we have it. We just need to upload it.
All right. Well, we could say here, we will probably be uploading a Dracula episode that refers to Halloween, even though it's long past that. Regardless, what I was getting at is in that Dracula episode, we talk about how different the movie is compared to the book. And that just seems to be a common issue for especially older movies, because they were so limited on what they could do that they did have to take creative choices and differences to portray a movie in an accurate way, or at least in a way that audiences would enjoy. And then those movies become more popular than the books, and so our ideas of what these stories are based on the movies, which are not a super accurate representation of the original story.
Correct, yeah.
And I'd actually like to say something real quick about movies, because on our Skinwalker Ranch, one of my theories is that the UFO sightings changed according to what was popular in media. So like Hollywood and TV and what they were watching. So like they went from the saucers to more modern looking UFOs, right?
Yep.
So I think that people really forget how much of our reality is from
media,
fiction, like
from
Frankenstein.
Yeah. No, it's just
it's
super
that's
interesting
just something to consider.
That, when you say Frankenstein, right, which is technically the incorrect term for the monster, because the monster doesn't have a name, it's just Frankenstein's monster. But when you say Frankenstein, everyone immediately thinks of the monster's portrayal in the Universal Studios depiction of the film, which is completely inaccurate.
Yeah.
Very strange. And the
Very,
bigger
very,
mystery,
very strange.
honestly, to this story is, why is Boris Karloff got such creepy eyes? Why he looks like Frankenstein?
Yeah. It's based off of him, the movie at least.
But
yeah, so now we're going to be talking about some Frankenstein-like experiments that have actually happened. And I will give a warning out to those who are squeamish and who are scared of medical things like procedures.
You're scared of science.
Penicillin.
You've ever taken
needles.
a Tylenol and gagged because you didn't drink enough
If the
water
word
with the pill?
ibuprofen makes you sick to your stomach,
Yeah, please skip this. But in all seriousness, there's some grotesque things we will be talking about. So please skip.
that's so
this
kind. When you're the host, you give them warnings. Me and Christopher just dive into it.
Yeah, I just made them listen to.
I would just assume if you're
bathing
listening
in
if you're
milk.
listening to the podcast at this point, then you know what? That's your fault.
That's your fault. But yeah, so the first experiment I'm going to be talking about is going to be from the scientist Giovanni Aldini. So Giovanni Aldini is actually related to Luigi. It's
They're
amazing.
shocking frog legs.
He's the nephew of Luigi.
Nice.
And he's a proud supporter of galvanism. And Giovanni, the leader of Team Rocket, basically does a lot of experiments with
Genghis Khan,
Genghis
Taros,
Khan?
Rhydon.
Oh,
The leader of Team
the
Rocket.
leader of Team Rocket. Yes, he does a lot of experiments like the leader of Team Rocket,
Like sewing three
on-
Diglets together to make a Doug trio.
True story. He did a lot of experiments like Luigi, but like on cows, horses, and pigs, and bigger animals. He secretly wanted to do his experiments on
A blue
humans.
whale.
A blue whale, maybe. And so January 18th, 1803, which tomorrow is the 217th anniversary of this experiment, he was able to procure a recently dead corpse. So the corpse was from a murderer named George Foster.
Wait,
And-
the corpse is John, or it was a victim?
Is George Foster.
Oh,
yeah.
George. I said
So
John.
someone killed the murderer.
Well, yeah.
So this is the
he
body
was-
of
he was-
George Foster? What was his name?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah,
is the
so
body
he-
of murderer George Foster. Okay. I
Yeah,
got
so
it.
he murdered his wife and kid, and he was convicted. And usually, what they did, and this is in London, England, and usually what they did to some like heavy criminals, like murderers,
Proppy naughty boys.
naughty boys, what they would do is they would chop chop up their bodies for the sole reason
of putting it in a
when the
blendtec and serving it at Jamba Juice.
Could be. But they would do it because they believed that during the resurrection, it would be a lot harder for their body to be resurrected if it's all in pieces.
Yeah.
And so they just did that.
It's like a 1,000-piece
pissing
puzzle.
off God at
yeah,
that
it's
point.
like if you have a 1,000-piece puzzle of a clear sky, it's going to be much more difficult to put together than if you've got a puzzle that's 2 pieces. I see the reasoning.
God's up there just like, you guys aren't getting resurrected until you help me put these bodies back together. I ain't doing this on my own.
doing it.
I got things to do.
I am so tired of 1,000 pieces of human body parts everywhere. I'm tired.
I'm working on this thing called coronavirus over here.
But luckily, luckily, this guy named Mr. Pass was able to take the body before they cut it up. And so they take his body, they give it to Giovanni, and this is within a couple of hours of him dying.
Take the body, give it to Giovanni.
And what they do is, they drain his blood, they make sure he's dead.
Nice.
And they transport the body to a medical auditorium. If you guys know what that is, it's like where it's like an auditorium, but at the base level, they have all these medical equipment, and does that make sense?
Is it just for watching surgery?
Basically, yeah.
Like you can just I got nothing to do this Saturday night. I'm gonna go see what surgery's on at the auditorium.
Well,
yeah.
another reason though that these things existed isn't just for fun. It's not a good Saturday night, which it was, but it wasn't the original purpose. But I also assume it's for people in the medical field to watch other medical professionals to learn techniques.
Yeah.
Listen here, Judith. I got a fun Friday night plan. We're gonna shark some
I got
frog
front
legs
row
and go to the
tickets to
local
the
auditorium.
amputation department.
Oh, I love you.
You're so romantic. Oh!
We're gonna eat the frog legs too.
So basically what happens is Giovanni invites all these scientists, all these doctors to watch him basically hook up a battery to connecting rods. And what he does is first he starts with the face of the corpse and he gets the muscles to twitch, and they're like twitching into like a grimace, and like people are kind of like, whoa, this is amazing.
They're applauding.
Oh, yes.
Again, Giovanni.
Again. And then suddenly the left eye of the corpse pops open and people start freaking out. They're like, what? Whoa. Giovanni? Giovanni, what's going on?
Too far, Giovanni.
Too far.
Knock it off.
And so like people are kind of getting freaked out because they're believing that he's possibly reanimating this corpse. And what he does is, he continues to do that on the face, and then he goes to the body. He then takes the connecting rods from the battery, puts the connecting rods up the rectum of the corpse, and the body just starts convulsing. The hands tighten up and starts pounding the table.
You know what, that though, to be fair,
his back arches up.
That response isn't unique to dead bodies.
Yeah. So people. True.
All right.
So it starts doing this and starts almost like convulsing, but like just basically thrailing about. And people are just like so scared they just start leaving. And the guy who procured the body, Mr. Pass, he ended up dying of fright. And
you can die of fright?
Yeah, it's probably like a heart attack, but
he was so spooked.
He was so spooked he just
His
died.
Heart exploded. I think the people leaving the auditorium are actually going to get their wife and kids. Like, you gotta see this. It's good tonight.
He's making a man dance. But yeah, that was one Frankenstein-like experiment. Another one.
The dude who does the dogs. I like this one.
Oh, there's two people. There's two people that do the dogs.
I don't like that terminology, but yeah.
I guess that's bad terminology. So the first guy, his name is Sergey Brakanyat. I can't say his last name. It's Brakanyeko. He was a Soviet scientist during the time of Stalin in the USSR, and he was able to make one of the first heart and lung machines, and he called it the autojector. And so in order to test this autojector, before they tested on humans, he would remove the head of a dog, and he would basically hook up the autojector to the removed dog's head, and the dog is alive. The dog is alive.
After he removes the head?
Yes, because he's able to, hook it up to this autojector, basically pumping in I can't say that word. Basically blood with oxygen.
Where are you seeing the word? I want to see the word. I probably can't say it either.
Are you trying to say, just from what you're saying, not looking at the word, are you saying
oxygenated?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that was what I was going to say.
Oxygenated? I don't know.
Oxygenated?
I don't know what you're trying to say to me.
What is this word? What are you trying to say? I'm going to Google it. Oxen?
So, OX...
Oxygenated blood? Oxygenated blood. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oxygenated.
Tyler!
It's a funky
Oxygenated.
Oxygenated.
There you go.
So basically, he pumps the blood through the dog's head, and there's a video, and the dog. You can see the video. I have a link on the. You could probably just search up.
I'm looking. I'm going.
Oh, okay. So he's gonna pull up the video.
Where is it at? Where's the link?
Towards the bottom. That one right there.
I gotta copy and paste that real quick. You can carry on. I'm gonna mute it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't.
But basically, in this video, you can just look it up, and the dog is. I don't know if it's conscious, but it can move its mouth. They do several tests where they take citric acid, they put it around his mouth. He uses his tongue to look it up. He's able to hear, loud crashes, and he's able to sniff, and it's very creepy. Yeah, Chris is playing it right now.
He's like poking it with stuff, and it's blinking. Now he's tickling it with a feather.
Yeah.
He gets citric acid, and he rubs it on to see if it flinches or licks it off or something. Very interesting. And it does. The dog's head reacts to all of it.
Yeah.
Like when you poke it, like in the eye, like blinks
I want
its
you
eye.
guys to do this to me. I want you guys to cut my head off, and I want to be used as a prank.
Well, so funny story. After he did like several of these experiments with the dogs, they would only live about an hour before the blood would just coagulate and, they would just die. He tried to do it with a human head, and I don't know.
Went to jail for murder?
Well, no. I mean, this is USSR. They didn't really have strict scientific
There was no felonies back then?
not in the Soviet Union, at least for scientists. So he did this on a human head. I don't think there's any pictures. I'm sure there's not a video. There might be a picture of it. I didn't look it up because I was too scared. But it is said that when they hooked it up to the autojector, it started like gargling, and all the scientists that were helping him freaked out and just disconnected it, and we're just like, yeah, we're not doing that again. I don't see the picture.
Nope, it's only the dog that I can find.
Okay, that's okay. I didn't want to see it anyways. But yeah, that's another like freaky Frankenstein experiment. Another one. This is the second dog. Guy who's another Soviet scientist by the name of Vladimir Demikov. He was interested in seeing if he could make the very first two-headed dog. So basically what he did was he took one adult dog and one young dog, so like a puppy. And what he did was he removed, he basically chopped the puppy in half. So it had its forepaws up to its head. And he made an incision in the neck of the adult dog and basically attached all the blood vessels from the puppy to the adult dog and made the very first two-headed dog. And so the very first experiment he did that, the two dogs lived for 4 days and they were able to eat. There's a video. I have it linked in the, if you want to watch it. So it was successful. And he repeated this experiment 23 more times. And the longest he could ever make a two-headed dog, like, live, was a month. And after he did those experiments, he became the director of Frankenweenie. So yeah, two-headed dogs.
He was the director for Frankenweenie?
Think about his resume.
Yeah.
Could you think of somebody better?
I wouldn't trust him around anything. He might cut it up and try to make it two-headed.
What was his purpose, though? I feel with most science, I mean, I suppose there's always the science of curiosity, but in my head, the purpose of a lot of science is to progress mankind. What in the world was the idea behind this? What was this going to do for humans?
I think this is just my thought, was what they're trying to do is, at least not in this experiment, I guess maybe in this experiment as well, but they're trying to see if they can graft body parts. So, like, let's say, I didn't write this guy down because I was worried about time, but there's this guy named Robert J. White, and he was an American scientist, and what he did was he was trying to see if he could transplant a head onto a monkey and sew it onto another body and have it, live, which he basically did. What they were hoping for is if they do these surgeries enough, let's say someone gets paralyzed from the neck down, what their hope was to be able to remove their head and be able to put it on a functioning body. That's my idea. I don't know if they just might be like curious.
So you're saying the whole plan was so eventually I could take off my arm and graft a crab claw onto my left arm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Become part crab, part man, and fight crime in Boston.
I would like to be part crab, mostly man.
Mostly man. Okay,
Yeah.
that's.
I'd just like to be a crab.
It's just a crab with
Chris's head on
Christopher's
a crab.
I am crab.
Which is funny. So that guy I talked about, Robert J. White, what his end goal? Do you guys know who Christopher Reeves is?
It sounds familiar.
So he was the actor who played Superman in the movies, and after the movies, he sadly broke his neck while riding a horse, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. And what Robert J. White's goal was to be able to take Christopher Reeve's head, and also many other people like Stephen Hawking, and graft it onto another body so they can actually have a functioning body.
And were these people aware that he wanted to do this to them?
I'm not sure. It just said it on Wikipedia, and I watched a video about like the experiment he was trying to do, and they briefly mentioned it. I'm like, I hope they didn't know, but like, I don't know. It's weird.
Is this why they still have Wampler Disley's frozen head?
Yeah.
So they can put it into a working body?
Yeah, so that's why it's in what was
Futurama?
it? Milk, right?
Yeah, it's in Milk next to Richard Nixon from Futurama, buried inside of what was it? Thunder Mountain.
Exactly. But yeah, so just very weird experiments. That a lot of dogs were sadly abused, but yeah, that was that was like some experiments that are like, I mean, there's many other that are really Frankensteinian. Like, I just picked these because they were really creepy.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's all I have.
That's all you have?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You didn't
I
you
booked
didn't
out the
do an
next 3
experiment
days.
on your own to share?
Sadly, no.
You didn't try to like take
I'm not an
Denon's
accomplished
head and put
scientist.
it on Joe's body?
First of all, that is the thing of nightmares.
I'm looking at the video of the two-headed dog, and one of the versions has the puppy on the back of the neck of the grown dog, and it's cute from an angle because it looks like it's getting a piggyback ride, and then it turns, and you're like, oh,
Oh, that's not good.
that's not normal. Yeah. Well, I do have something I would like to say though. Lil Lucas, 696.
Hi.
If you're out there, if you're listening to this, we appreciate you. If you know, you know. That's all. We're moving on. I just had to say it.
Well, that sounds like it wraps up the true and horrifying stories of Frankenstein, and as well as the fiction. All right, I mean that's a pretty good wrap
Correct,
up,
yeah.
and it definitely leaves me wanting to go read the book. Not so much the Universal Studios movie. Don't really care to see that. Sounds like they butchered the man. How do you butcher a man who's already been butchered?
You take
I
it
don't
to
know.
Universal Studios.
Goodness gracious.
Well, I think that we can go ahead and toss all the various body parts we've collected along the way into the crypt,
And zap
I don't
'em.
think we need to lock it.
We need to
but
zap
in
them.
case
You can't
Unless
lock it
a
because then they
lightning
can't get hit by
storm happens.
lightning.
Yeah,
We
I
gotta
think
leave
that
it
we
wide
need to leave
open.
it.
Wide open.
And
We just
on
need
like
a-
a tilt, kind of pointed towards the sky.
Let's lock it, but put the key on the inside.
So let's how about this? How about we take a
How does the
kite?
lightning get
We
through?
take a kite
Well, so that-
and wrap it around the finger, and then attach
yes.
that to a key and raise that to the sky. I learned
I
that
agree.
from my favorite scientist, Bill Nye.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
And I think to wrap this one up, I think we're gonna need a silent film kiss.
Yeah, all right. Well, on that note, good night.
Good night.
Good night.